Hello, everyone. I'm Amanda Ziadeh with WashingtonExec, and with me today is Doug Wagoner, President and CEO of LMI. Thanks for joining me today, Doug.
Thanks for having me, Amanda.
Of course. So we're here to talk about strengthening the defense industrial base and the idea that supply chain security is national security. 2020 certainly had its own challenges, and it's been quite a challenging year. And unfortunately, the world of national security doesn't reset when the calendar does. So what we've learned, I wanted to ask you first what we have learned about the preparedness of our industrial base from the pandemic.
Well, first of all, you're absolutely right. We believe that supply chain security is national security. And we did learn that lesson pretty hard last year and still learning it today because of the pandemic. The pandemic showed us weaknesses in our supply chain, which showed weaknesses in our ability to surge as a nation, be it the ventilators that were needed, be it the other PPE that was needed. It also showed us the fragility, maybe even of our workforce, that once people went back home or maybe factories were shutting down because companies thought that was the safest thing to do for their employees, or people just couldn't come to work because they were sick or taking care of loved ones. So those were just a few of the fragilities that we found in our supply chain that just didn't impact our medical supply chain, but also apply to the DIB.
Great. So then how could adversaries exploit these vulnerabilities?
There, unfortunately, are a lot of exploitable points in the supply chain, and I won't feel comfortable giving them the roadmap here, but I can certainly say that some of the key ones that we help our customers focus on is ownership. Right now it is a global economy, and the DIB over the years has utilized that global economy. Be it sometimes there's not another source. Certain microelectronics, certain raw materials are only available in certain countries, and some of those countries are not necessarily friendly to the United States. Other fragilities, as we've seen recently, is cyber. Just protecting the supply chain in general is a vulnerability. So those are two that are very key. There's many more. Like I said, I don't feel like giving the adversaries a roadmap, but unfortunately, there's a lot of work to be done here.
So, Doug, how can government and industry overcome these challenges together?
Well, there's a lot to do, and I think the first part is to realize that I think a lot of us still have a vision of today's supply chain the way we did in World War II. Rosie the Riveter and long assembly lines of us designing our own weapon systems, building our own weapon systems, repairing them. The truth is, it's a global economy, and members of the defense industrial base, the reality is that they have customers all over the world. They have suppliers all over the world. It's a very distributed supply chain. And so one of the key things that we have to do is realize the risks that are within there, identify those risks. And we may have to do some more onshoring of certain components, certainly our microelectronics or nearshoring with folks that we know are allies of ours. Because the reality is these companies are privately held, and they do have commitments to shareholders as well as commitments to their government customers and to the nation. We also have to recognize that the DIB is also very dependent upon third-party commercial companies in the United States, consumer product companies. And again, they did that with the best of intentions to try to save cost and leverage investment. But the reality, these companies are global, and China is a huge market for them. And so again, they find themselves in a balancing act. And then lastly, really innovation in the 1940s, 1950s, technology innovation was generated by the Defense Department through R&D, and that's not the case now. R&D is in the private sector hands, and they're going to go where the money is, which is usually in the consumer electronics and not the defense electronics or technology side. And so we maybe need to take a look at how can we have more R&D that's specific to national security.
So what are some things that LMI is doing in this space?
Well, LMI was founded 60 years ago specifically to solve this problem. So it's been a challenge for a long time. Secretary of Defense McNamara and John F. Kennedy signed our charter to start us as a nonprofit to look at these issues between government and the defense industrial base, or the DIB. Right now, we're actually applying our deep data analytics capability, our AI capability, to take a look at the supply chains, take a look at what's changing in the world, because there's an awful lot of data that comes in that can be utilized to show vulnerabilities, from ownership data, transportation data, weather data, certainly what the operational tempo is and how that could affect the geopolitical environment. So all of these data points, we're using our data analytics to try to actually forecast and show where there could be supply chain issues in the future. But that's just one of many, many areas that LMI provides logistics support across Secretary of Defense to DLA to just about every single service.
All right. Well, we certainly look forward to following the advancements of strengthening the supply chain security for this year. So thanks so much for joining me today, Doug.
Thank you, Amanda.